This is Jambo Radio.
Today is quite a day. Today has been a different kind of show, and I'm just going to roll with it. I'm just going to roll with it. Guys, the moment has arrived. We have been waiting, and she is here finally. It's so good to see her. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Viana Maya, FRSA. Yeah, she is the she is the award-winning founder of is it pRESPECT? pRESPECT. Limited, and she's also a learning and development training and coaching specialist in career progression. Her passion is empowering people to reach their full potential, regardless of where they come from. She's won multiple awards, including the IOD Director of the Year for Innovation. And Viana will be talking with us about the new data-led recommendations to progress racial equality in Scotland. 638 individuals responded to the call to share their experiences with immigration status and employability, and Viana was the brains behind it all. On Friday the 28th of this month, in about 10 days or so, pRESPECT will be holding an event to talk about the results of this important research, as well as the recommendations that came from it. We can't wait to hear from Viana all about the process, the data, the research undertaken, and everything else. Listeners, you know what to do. Combine Jambo Radio in Scotland, and you will find us. We're live right now. If you want to listen live, go to www.jamboradio.co.uk. If you want to watch us, our pretty faces, go to www.jamboradio.co.uk, or go to Facebook Live. We're live there as well. And if you want to call in and talk to Viana live, call 07437 826 865. Once again, that's 07437 826 865. She is right here, available right now. I'm here, Zenat here, Clyde is here, we're all here, the team is here. So all you have to do is just call the number and you have us live, or if you're shy, you don't want your voice to be heard, go on the Facebook page, put your comment on, and we will read it out live on air. Or if you just want to listen, just listen, and we're right here. Viana, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, and thank you for waiting.
Absolutely, you're worth waiting for.
You know what? It's the anticipation of what we're going to discuss.
Exactly.
It was just like that moment of build up.
Exactly.
But yeah, so we're here.
So what we're going to do is, I know I introduced you a little bit, but if you could just do us a favor and just tell us a little bit about yourself as well.
Yeah. Oh gosh, where do I start? Those labels. So I run two organizations. One, pRESPECT Hub, CIC, which is a community interest company, and that's working with people. We specifically wanted to have two organizations in that. One, pRESPECT, we're working with organizations in terms of anti-racism work, inclusive recruitment, research, anything else, and then have a space that's for people. And as you mentioned there, I really love empowering people. I love seeing the potential of people and seeing beyond the labels.
Oh, where they are.
When I first started, I was working as an employability coordinator for refugees and migrants. And again, once you put a label on people, it sort of keeps them in that stage. Looking past that, what else would you want to ambition? And I really love that. And then we've just seen some amazing transformation. We've seen some amazing journeys and the struggle to get there. And this is why we're here. And this is one of the reasons I wanted to find out more. I like data. I like research. Data, research, real things, real talk. That's what then guides us in terms of what we need to do. Okay. And being in the employability space, I'm really about disrupting that system, that space, because right now it's not working for people. Okay. It's not getting them to where they need to get to, because there's a lot of barriers that we as employability people, we don't have the control to change that. Okay. So it's really like, how do we bring those decision makers? And I like bringing people into a room
to hash things out and get
and
solution.
Food as well. Anyone that knows me, I will feed you. When you come and have a conversation, I will feed you.
So we're going to talk about the research and all of that. We will get into that. But before we do that, are you Scottish? Are you English? Are you British? Are you Congolese?
I'm everything. So first things first, I'm Angolan Congolese. Okay. I grew up in London, hence the accent. And I've been in Scotland for about nearly 16 years. Okay. So I'm everything. Wherever I am is my home. I'm all of that, but 121% I'm African.
Absolutely, that's where we are. Right, so tell us about the data launch. So where did the idea come from? Was it your brainchild? Was it your team's brainchild? Where did the idea come from?
The idea Yes, it came from having conversations. So part of our organisations, we're part funded in the community interest, and we're part of the No One Left Behind. There's different policies, and it's all about getting people out of poverty.
Okay.
And in doing that, we like to also look at the data. What's the data telling us where people are? And we realise there's no data in Scotland that's specifically about the Scottish experience.
Okay.
A lot of the data, I'm looking at what's happening
in England,
down south, and then trying to understand what's happening here. There's some stuff there, but not specifically in terms of the people here,
like the minority community.
What do they need? Yeah. Okay. What do they need? What's going on? And also from the lived and living experience that we're hearing from people.
Yeah.
And in recent months, we're hearing more from people, in regards to visas and the restrictions, and and those that have invested in universities and still getting into care sector or security. And there's nothing wrong with that sector at all. And that has to be your choice to want to be there, rather than if you've studied to become an engineer or a doctor and then you're not getting
absolutely
to, and then once we start, and there's no data. So when I mention this to people, usually in position of power or influence, is, well, there's no data, so it might just be a few people talking about this. And that's what I thought, right, there's a challenge here. Let's do it. And it's coming from us. And I'll have to big up Dr. Thelma from Jezreel, who's conducting our research, and the 15 community researchers
that went on ground.
On ground, ethnic minority, ethnically diverse community researchers that usually you don't hear about, when these research are done. So it's done from the people within a community. Yeah. And we didn't actually expect to get this number of people.
600 plus?
600 plus, and in that short time. So if we had a bit of longer time, I'm sure we would have had a higher number of people. But it's also encouraging governments and other people to go for it, invest in understanding the landscape, so that we don't have policies that has huge holes in it, right, which then makes what we do in the employability sector difficult. This is my thinking anyway. I feel that at times within the employability sector, we then perpetrate the same cycles, because what are we directing people to? Yeah. Where are the jobs that are coming to us in our communities? Mostly in the health sector, retail, hospitality, but we're not getting those ambitious roles that people actually want to
don't you think that might be because we're a younger minority community in Scotland, as opposed to in England, where they've been established for 40, 50, 60 years? Absolutely. And they're first generation tax is what I like to call it. When you're first generation in the country, you kind of tend to take those jobs and be in those positions, and then your kids, and they're the ones who benefit from the efforts you put in. Do you think that's where we are in Scotland?
Not a little bit, yes and no, because majority of, from our data specifically, we're having a lot of people coming in to get the education. Yes, and paying a lot. So already people investing in the education themselves, investing themselves, but they're also putting a lot of money into our universities, into our economy, to get the jobs that they are qualifying for. Yes. So that, I think that argument, which is what people tend to say, oh, we're a bit behind, that doesn't really sway. If you think about, people coming from Canada, Australia, etc.,
what they're getting.
Exactly. Okay. You're not finding them in those roles at all.
So what do you I don't want to talk about what the data gave, because obviously the event is coming up, but are you happy with the way things went? And
absolutely. Okay. I cannot recommend Jezreel Consultancy enough. I mean, stuttering in my words, but I cannot recommend them enough. And I think having somebody from the community with the expertise conducting this research, and also, although when we first set out the research, we were looking at the immigration and visa and the impact in employability, but I sent a bullet point of 10 other things to look out for: the cost of living crisis, for those that are here that don't need a visa, and it's interesting that we're seeing, so we've got the impact of the visa restriction, and then we've got people talking about the discrimination they're facing, racism they're facing, or just the lack of access to opportunities. So you're told to have a UK qualification. Yeah. You got the UK qualification, and you're now being told you need to have the Scottish experience or the UK work experience. As somebody said, how do we get that if you're not?
You need experience to get experience.
Exactly. And there's ways to do it. So for me, it's not about just the doom and gloom. We need to see, we know within a community, we know what the issues are, but seeing it alongside the data, which I had a bit of advice from somebody in the IOD, and it was, to get these things heard and to discussed and talked about, we need data in front alongside those living experience. And specifically, and what we've got, it's some of it is like, wow.
I'm trying to think hard. In employability, what people focus on is, the certifications and what is equal and what's not equal when you come from another country, and can you transfer that? Is it transferable to the standards here? And a lot of people face that. Do you think that's a lot of that has to do with it? So I know you're coming for people who come for their masters is a different story. So they have their first degrees from their home countries, and they have a UK master's. So that's supposed to help them, enter the job market or go back home and do better. But for those who are coming with their certifications from other countries, who can't seem to get a leg in, how does that work? Does that affect employability?
Absolutely. If it's not recognized for some reason, that experience or that qualification is not recognized. And we've seen already in terms of what's happening down south, that 50 top universities, none of them were in parts of where we're from. People are skilled.
Yes,
it's about changing that opportunity of, if a person has a CV that is letting you know this is what they've done, they're actually managing directors, head of departments, etc. When we recruit, we usually have things like onboarding, or you have that, I can't even remember the word training. Of it. The initial training. You also have that time period before you decide probation. All right, so why not have those opportunities where you can see how the person is working? You can see the value. It's about that value that person is adding.
I mean, it's almost like you have to be absolutely excellent, and everybody else. So you have the Oprah Winfreys, and then everybody else. You have the Michael Jordans, and then you have to show you're absolutely completely excellent. And then you're taken in, and then everybody else who's just regular doesn't get a leg in.
But I don't think we're just regular. That's the thing.
No.
Because of the there is a book that I'm reading now called Twice as Hard. We've been told that
work twice had to get
work
half
twice
as much.
And that's something I grew up with. People hear my accent, they think I was born. I wasn't born here. I'm a child of a refugee, a migrant, whatever label you want to give me for being in the country. So we had to do all of that kind of stuff. We had to work hard. My parents were all about getting that English accent, so we don't have the issues that they faced. So all of that, to see it, I'm not going to say my age. I'm going to tell you my age.
She's not a day older than 23. Not
exactly.
A day older.
I'm always 23, forever 23. But this is still going on, and I think we need to move past that. When we can see other people from other countries and accept that they're bringing in that experience, why can't we do the same?
So let's shift it. So Scotland, we'll come back. Let's shift it to the States, for example. And how you hear all the time, and the data shows that the Ghanaian community, the Nigerian community, their immigrant community in that country are the most successful of all the immigrant groups. So what's making them successful, and why can't we replicate it here?
I think here there's
they're just
a lot
almost
of
as young as the community there. So it's not very, I think it's 1.5 generations in the States. It's not like they've been there for decades and decades and decades. But they are like all the doctors and this and that are all the heads of corporations and all that. All the successful immigrants in that country tend to be from this West African countries. Why is that? Why are they successful there, and why?
I think even with the barriers, you still have the opportunity to succeed, to go up. When you read somebody's bio, you see that they've faced different barriers. They've had racism, they've had discrimination, but they've still been able to power forward. Whereas I feel here, especially looking at the data, it doesn't feel like there's any legroom to shift forward. And we are, like you said, we are very young, but we have the opportunity to change that. There's a lot, the energy is different now. The energy is different compared to when I first moved here. There weren't a lot of us here. And I'm also seeing the ambition within the community, with people starting their own business, etc. And it also comes from us as a community supporting each other, which I think is what happens in those spaces, where people are properly collaborating. You're building each other up. Somebody's got a business, you're there, you're supporting them. Somebody's, whatever it is you're doing. So I feel here is about bringing us as a community together and really support each other, regardless of what part of Africa you're from, your tribes, etc. Is really coming together to elevate each other. And that already changed the mindset. I don't know if you come across the Black Pound that comes out every first month in England.
No, what is that?
So the Black Pound that started in 2020, and that was a way to get people to buy, black businesses. We spend a lot of money.
Oh yeah,
we spend a lot of money, but we're not
on interesting things.
On interesting things, and those are the things, the areas where people are creating the businesses here.
Yeah.
So why not have that energy where we invest in each other, and then that grows, that builds us up as well.
There's a lot the ideas always seem good, but actually integrating them into our lives, sometimes that's where the fault comes. That's where the faltering comes. I don't know if you agree with that.
A little bit, but I think it also depends on. So in my sector, I find there's a lot of divide and conquer in terms of funding. Yes. Right. So if there's 6 of us doing different types of employability, it might be just one organization that gets it.
Yes.
So then it turns rather than us working together. Yeah. So it's about understanding also the system that we're in. What's going on there, and then how do we not be played against each other. But it's that really based conversation, isn't it? It's coming together, it's celebrating each other, and as we build up, and I'm finding that's working for us now.
Okay. And do you think Edinburgh and Glasgow are different? Because I think
very different.
I think it's more. Tell us why.
Very different. You think so. I feel in Glasgow it has more of the diversity here, and there's also, I was, when I moved back in 2015. I was just like, what's happening here? Where's the community? Considering I grew up in Bethnal Green, so I'm used to all of that diversity and stuff. Where's the community? How do we find people? How do we connect? How do we keep all of that alive? So I ended up coming to Glasgow in 2018. I spent the whole year in Glasgow. I literally, my phone had pinged me. I did a million steps.
Wow.
I was walking around trying to find a community. But it's growing in Edinburgh, and Edinburgh is expensive as well. So if you're facing those challenges in terms of barriers to opportunities, in terms of the type of jobs you're going to get, you're not going to live in an expensive city as well. So it's different, and also it's the travel. As you can see today, I got lost. But it's the travel in terms of connecting ourselves. It's different, but we now have Jambo Radio. We can connect in those spaces. We have, we've got BPS. We can connect in those networking spaces. pRESPECT, come connect in those spaces. But we're getting there. I feel like we're growing into it.
I do think so, because I remember when I first moved to Scotland 15 years ago. And if I saw a black person, I was like, yay. I would like give the nut. So, and now it's like, there's so many, I'm like, I'm fine. I don't need to say hi to everyone. It's good. I'm good.
I still have to crack a smile though.
Yeah, sometimes it's so strange, because I feel sometimes I physically go hi. Like, why are we saying hi? Based on the fact we're both black. That's it. And they're like, hello.
Well, when I moved here, I had a big fat fro as well. And I had to I ended up cutting my fro off, because I was just like, what's going on here? But it's back.
So tell us, we've come to the event now. So tell us what to expect, where to find you, what's going to happen on the day, all of it. Just go for
everything.
It.
Oh gosh. So the event's going to be at a venue at 525 Ferry Road in Edinburgh. Okay. I can't remember the postcode, but I'll come
Don't worry about it.
But we're going to have a 30 minutes presentation of the key findings and recommendation. We're going to have a panel discussion with some people with lived experience and some expert in the field. And we're creating a space where you're going to read and hear some of the quotes that we've got. We've got about 20 pages of it. And food, of course. We have the fantastic Nonne Duma, My Zulu Hut. If you haven't sampled Nonne's food
yet. Is that in Edinburgh?
That's in Edinburgh. But Nonne, you can come to Jambo Radio and we're having food.
What kind of food is it? Because Nigerians are very chauvinistic about our food. So what kind of food is it?
It's going to be, she's going to be creating some Nigerian food as well. There'll be some jollof rice, because everybody loves the jollof rice. And good jollof rice.
Yes, Nigerian jollof, not Guinean jollof.
We're not going to have... All I know is they're going to be jollof rice. So Nigeria and Ghana, don't come for me. But it's going to be a fusion of finger food. And she's... some people already sampled Nonne's food already. So anytime I have an event, I usually get, hey, is Nonne coming? Do you actually want to come to the event, or you just come for food? Really. So no, we're going to feed people as well, and just have that opportunity to be in a space. We've invited MPs, MSPs. We've got people from different parties coming. So it's not a select of who. It's about getting those decision makers in the room, policy makers in the room.
Starts in the evening.
It starts in the evening, so it's from 5:30 to 8.
Okay.
Venue, unfortunately, is very restrictive with time. And then later on, we're going to have a date for an online event as well for those that can't make it. And then we are going to be touring this around to different. We really want that. I spoke to somebody yesterday, and they're really keen to have this heard in terms of ministers and policies, etc.
I mean, we did go to House of Parliament a couple of weeks ago. We had something similar, and people talking about what the African community can give and heritage and all that. I do feel there's a feeling among the MPs, among the government, policymakers, they do want to help.
Yes.
Do you think so? I think they do. I just think they don't know exactly how.
Yes, and this is why we did the... I spoke to somebody, an MP a while back, and that's the first thing he said, but we don't have the data. And I was just looking at him thinking, but you have the money to invest in the data, you know. And again, every other conversation I've had with anyone else has been, you know, this is something that we really want to get involved in. We don't have the data. And since having this, launching it and preparing it, we've been invited to talk everywhere. You know, so on the 26th, I'm going to be speaking at the IOD Policy and Forum. And again, that's a great space where there's employers and, you know, people actually they want to do something, but they don't know where to start. And I also find because we're a smaller community, sometimes it has to be down to us as a community to invest in that information. So, you know,
now you've done it.
We have a budget. It's here. Let's put that in, and it's our budget, so we can find what we actually want to hear.
I mean, I do think. I mean, there are avenues for this. People say a lot. Oh, I came to the country and I couldn't get a job. It's a story. A tale as old as time. However, like things like this happen, and policies are put in place, and people are aware of it. So when you're hiring now, employers will be aware of it and they'll look out for it, and then hopefully the change will happen. Is that what you want to see? That's
what we want to see, but we also want that accountability and transparency. So this is not a research that we're expecting for people to just collect and park it somewhere and say we now have this in policy. We actually want to see it in action. So for example, there's a lot actually happening. There's a lot of opportunity for internship, lots of internships, but we need to see that moving on to full-time opportunities, something. Even if you have the opportunity for internship and you can't keep a person in there, then support them to get to the next role. So you want to have that outcome where people are not just coming to get work experience. They're then moving on to something else. You know, share your network as well.
I mean, there are lots of Scottish policies like that, to be fair, where...
But that's the problem. There's a lot of policies, but there's no implementation. That's where we need to move to. I'm going to get somebody whooping me like me.
No,
but it's the implementation. The implementation.
Maybe not every industry. I think in engineering industry, it's really implemented where, you know, they're trying, doesn't matter your background, they're trying to get you in there.
The tech sector, they tend to do a bit, some they do
because
well.
if you're good at what you do, or they can build you up, they're ready to get you. Maybe other industries, not so much.
And you know why that is? So a piece of advice I would then give to, so what we do in that side of empowering people is being able to showcase yourself. You know, so my personal example, when I was trying to find opportunities here, regardless, I've lived in this country, I've got my experience, moved to Scotland, I still ended up working in care. I was in care for...
I'm going to come to that. I have something. I'm going to come to that.
You know, I ended up working in care. And at the same time, while I was there, the nugget in my head, I still remember my parents and thinking, we did not come here for you to... You know? So then I'm having to think, how do I move? And again, I think for me, growing up in London, I've seen people in positions of...
That's it.
I've got the influence.
Representation matters.
Exactly.
It matters so much. Because if you don't see it, then you don't think you can do it. But because we've grown up seeing it, it's not impossible.
It's not. You know, I know that we have to work. I always say to people, it's like, be aware of your reality, but then how can we push forward? But I'm also aware that being here, that, you know, my accent has got me to places that it doesn't get other people. Probably. So then what am I doing with that is bringing other people along. If this is a thing that somebody's offering that I can't do, I'm going to shout about whoever is in my network. I like collecting my network of people. And I feel that's how we can do it. You know, we don't need to, as one person or organization, you don't need to take and say yes to everything. Pass it on. If that's not what you're doing, pass it on. And in that way of working, it's been great, you know, with some of the organizations that we've worked.
I mean, what do you say? Okay, so what do you say to Scottish people, indigenous Scottish people? We're all Scottish, but you know, who say, listen, I understand where you're coming from. I understand their difficulties and barriers, but also, you know, I myself, I'm a single parent. I'm from a single parent family. I had to pull myself up. People judged me because I was a single mother, and now I'm in this position. I had an experience, and I had to work really hard. I was discriminated against. People can say I'm from a benefit family who've been on benefits for generations, and I had to break that chain myself. People discriminate against me because of my background, and I had to show myself and fight for myself. Other people say I'm from an alcoholic, whatever. Yeah. Some people have or I'm not from the right postcode. I'm not from the right background, family, whatever. And people have fought to break that themselves, break those barriers, and push themselves and sell themselves, even though they face discrimination, even being white Scottish in this country. So sorry for you, you know, sorry you're going through this, and everybody has to do their own thing. Do you think it's the same kind of barriers, or do you think it's something different about being a minority?
So there's the similarity and then the added layer.
Okay.
That's what I always say to people. Okay. So it's when we're talking about this, is not to take away from what's happening to the native Scots, let's say. And there's also the opportunity. So, for example, if you have no recourse to public funds here, you don't get any resource to just anything to support you. Yet, if you are a working class Scots, if you are whichever background you're in, there's opportunities for services to support you to come out of that. To get into, and then once you start coming out of that, you also have opportunity of networks to get you to those opportunities. Whereas everyone else, other people, we're hearing a lot from discrimination. There's a lot of discrimination, accent barriers, for example. You know, there's the layer of racism. So your race will never be, so having white skin will never be something that impacts you. So it's about not saying my problems or our problems is better or worse than yours. It's about understanding, okay, these are our common issues that we share, and you've managed to get out of here. But these are the layers. Have an awareness of this. Help us highlight these things. But it's not about taking away. And that's the divide and conquer that sometimes happens in these spaces. Is
because if you've been a single mom and you struggled, like really struggled, and also faced discrimination within your own country, your hackles could be up when people say, "Oh, you have privilege," or you think that things are easier for you because you're white, and you're like, "Excuse me, I've struggled." You know, I can imagine the mindset.
You can imagine the mindset, and this is when I talk to people about understanding privilege, especially when it's skin privilege. It's not coming from. It's not you in that working class. It's being aware of the individuals that have been born and have that silver spoon of opportunity. That's the privilege there. And it has, and it does help. It does help. So it's not to say you, and people I get this a lot, you know, but what about the working parent? What about, remember the intersectionality of it. So remember what your struggle was or is, and then think about that other person who's coming in and having that barrier of their qualifications not recognized, their, you know, qualification that they get here is not good, not enough. Their lack of experiences, but their experience back home is not recognized. Or those that have been here for so long, yet they're not breaking into because, you know, they don't fit into the company culture, whatever that is. So it's really coming together, and I like creating spaces where we bring everybody in, because we're having these conversations silos. So then it does create that resentment. It does create that feeling of,
it does.
Everybody's talking about, you know, we're just talking about race now. It's Black History Month. We're just doing this. At least you get your month to do this. You know, all of that kind of sit here and really understand where we are. So it's not to take away from you, but it's just to say that this is what's happening here.
I mean, I was going to talk about we're almost at the hour. We might take a break at the hour and continue. But before we do that, I want to talk about the visa situation, right?
Yes.
People come in They pay for everything. I mean, when I say pay for everything, the amount of money we spend on consular services in Africa I think it funds all the British
funds everything. It funds
and
everything.
There's no refunds. If you don't get your visa, you don't get your money back. Like in one day, for example, in the British Embassy, one of the British embassies in Lagos, in Nigeria, I can imagine the amount of money they make from each visa application. It's insane money. It's crazy money, right? So you do all that and you come through and then you get these barriers, right? You get these barriers. You don't get that job you thought you would after spending all that money. Yeah. Do you just knuckle down and just go with it and then hope your kids get a better life after you, or do you say no?
A lot of people have said no, and they've gone on to do so. I don't want to paint a picture that we're all sitting in our oppression and not doing the things that we want to do. There's a lot of us that are succeeding and doing well. Show yourself, like be that representation to really inspire. There's a lot of us that are doing really, really well, and you've just had to push through. Even in what I'm doing now, I've had to push through so many barriers, stereotypes, etc. Things that the blocks. Last year, as you say, the wahala. Last year, but you get to that side, and then I like to share. How did I get to that side? So I think people should push through. But it's about having the right support and resources around you, about having the right, what is it that you want to do? So even if you end up stuck, say you in the care sector, I'm always about that plan, right? So you're doing this, but what do you want to do? People talk about the side hustles, but it's finding those little bit of time. It's not realistic for everybody, but it's creating that little bit of time and the opportunity to get to where you want to be, because our children then will be motivated.
See it.
My daughter's 9 and she's ready to start her own business. She's written her mission statement. We're building a website. She's got her videos to start at 6. But that just comes from...
Are you sure you're not talking about this person?
And I was just like, are you my child? But it comes from that energy of our children being able... And if you're not able to, then let's really support our children now. Let's get them into those spaces where there's opportunity. Let's create opportunity for them. If you have a business, let's bring the children into the space so they can see lots of us doing stuff. That's really, really important. Empower ourselves.
I want to take a wee break. I want to come back and talk about the asylum aspect of things. Because that's really very, very dear to me. And we'll come back and talk about that. Zainab,
no worries.
You ready to take us for a break? All right. What song are we playing? Still with the incredible, amazing, inspirational Viana Maya of pRESPECT, and we're talking about the data-led research she's done about the minority experience here and all of it. And we were talking about people's opportunities and employability when you're part of the minority community and all the data now you've collected. I'm not going to talk about the data itself because obviously the event is coming up on the 28th of October, but we're just talking in general, right, about it and the results. At the end of this, I'm going to ask you what you hope to learn. I know you have the results of the data, but what you hope will happen in the future. We'll talk about that. But before that, we're hinting about the asylum seekers experience. We've talked about people who come on visas, paid a lot of money for their education, and who might be having barriers, and people in that space. However, there's another space, the asylum seekers and refugee space, right? Which I don't think we spend enough time talking about. Now, I work in employability as well, as you know, have experience in that, and I do engagement. And I have groups of asylum seekers I work with all the time. And there's a 2-tier system in this world. Okay, there's the asylum seekers and refugees that come from a certain part of the world, and others who come from other parts of the world, and it seems like they're getting 2 different experiences, right? So for those who come from our part of the world, so Africa, the Horn of Africa, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East, there's something called the shortage occupation list. I don't know if you know about it. So they wait for the asylum results, and sometimes they wait over a year, and then they finally get there. They finally get that result. You can stay, and here's a work permit. Okay, so you've waited that long. You couldn't work while you're an asylum seeker, which I think, in my opinion, it's wrong. you should be able to work while you, even if it's a certain hours and all that, while you're waiting for your results. Because again, you're contributing, your spirits are up, you're working, you're paying tax, experience, you're waiting, you're just not living in limbo, because a lot of them live in limbo. There's a lot of waste in that community.
Yes.
And your mental health as well.
Yeah.
So finally, okay, so you go through all that and you get your results and then you get your work permit and you're on the shortage occupation list. Now, this list, unless you're like a surgeon,
you ain't
a neurosurgeon, a prima ballerina, a micro economist, something with potential, Nobel potential. Unless you're that, you work in care.
Yes,
there's no middle.
Care visa has been specifically created.
There's no middle. Have you taken a look at the list? You have to be absolutely super.
Our graphic designers created an infographic just so we can condense the information.
See it.
Yes.
So there's care, and then there's a few things in electronics, engineering, and all that.
But even those things, they're
very specific.
The practical skills, you need the right certificate.
And you need to have done it, and you need to show you've done it, and you need to do UK standards, which is almost impossible.
And the cost to get to UK standard, if you don't have recourse to public funds.
If you hadn't been working for the year while waiting for your asylum and all of that, how do you keep your skills up? So it's almost like a list which doesn't make sense. It's just funneling everybody into care.
Yeah.
So to me, I think that list has to be revised. That's my personal opinion.
Absolutely.
What is your opinion about that?
Absolutely. And that, again, what came up from my research, I'll give you this little bit, is that 82% of people, qualified or not, are working in the care sector. And I'm hearing people now who are changing the visa, or being advised to take the care visa. So for 5 years you'll be in that visa.
So there's a special care visa.
There's a care visa. The care, because we have a shortage. So again, it takes me back to the rush of when we needed to rebuild the country, rebuild the country, and then what? So I'm then thinking with this care visa, and then what happens once you've plugged the gap? I think that's the specific language that.
Then what?
I won't even say her name, but the one previous to the one now, I won't mention the name, don't give them the airspace, but it's plugging the gap, and then what? So part of that, I mean, I'll come back to what we want from this, but that needs to change.
Yeah.
So I really believe that people that are seeking asylum should be given the opportunity to work, be given the opportunity to train. When I was working my previous job before creating pRESPECT, this is where pRESPECT came from working in those spaces. I realized that we need to keep people's ambition alive. We need to keep people's, that fire of what they want alive. And to have people believe in you, to see beyond that label that you've been stamped onto you, and see that, you can still be there. We're just going to take a different route when you're ready to come back to it. So I suppose for us in the employability space, and especially in our community, is how do we keep people's ambition alive? And we also have another side where we're hearing people telling people, come work in care, you get that job in security, but we're not giving people the reality. We've had people that have been referred to us because they came through working care and then realized that I was lied to. This is hard. I'm doing hours that I can't.
And there's no recourse.
There's nothing there. There's no. It needs to change.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It does. No, it does.
It
It certainly does. And I think taking just what's available is a very dangerous path to go on. Just take it. Don't worry. Just start with that. And then we'll see later.
I think you can do that if you're having that access to support. So we've been working with people that have taken anything, and usually when people come to me the first time, they say, "I'll do anything," and I really want to break that. What do you actually want to do? Because if I told you today you're going to work as a bin man, or you're going to work you're going to tell me no. So we really try to understand where you are, understand your skill set now, what you have, and then let's work from there and build up from that ambition. So if your ambition is to be the CEO of whatever, what skill set do we need to build up on the side while you're doing this thing? So I think sometimes people need to take those anything to pay those bills, because again, people are then being driven into poverty, etc. So you're going to have to take something if you have a responsibility for your family. But we, on the other side, we need to really make the noise that we need to make to change that system of putting people into care.
Right, so Viana, we ourselves, me and you, and this community, where this, class we're in, are we being a bit classist about this because I'm asking because so we are all kind of privileged. Says we are a part of the minority community, but we're educated. We came from all countries, educated.
Yeah.
We came, we're looking out, setting our sights, our ambitions. Yes, you were in care for a while, but now you're running your own company, and everybody else has done a PhD, has done that. They're doctors, they're this, they're nurses, they're this. Yes, they might be doing care or security now, but they have the advantage of being educated, meaning back home, they had privilege. Someone paid for the education, they had that privilege. But there's another class of us who don't have that, who don't come from an educated background, who are not like trying to break into the, middle class or top echelon and trying to I have my qualifications and I just want a chance to get a job that fit my qualifications. No, some people don't have education, don't have experience, and are still trying to live here. They've come either as asylum seekers, refugees, or just come somehow.
Yeah.
And are here now. So are we catering to those people? Are we only focusing on those who are educated and trying to break in?
So pRESPECT is that we cater
to the educated.
No.
To everyone.
We start from, I always say we're safety net.
Okay.
Because there are lots of great spaces that is catering to people that have those experience.
Yes.
But we're working with people who either don't have the experience or, for example, we tend to work with a lot of single parents, especially women, who, never had that opportunity for that education, etc. So looking at what is it that they want to do, how they want to navigate is a terrible word, but how they want to get to where they want to get to. So when I'm talking about ambition doesn't always have to be, ambition is whatever it is, and your success, what it means to that person. So when we work with people, it's tailored to that individual, right? Which can sometimes and I've been told this as well, that's too much work, that's just have a package and deliver that. And that is what has been delivered to us already. Right? We need to create, have something, a structure, a routine, but you also want to work with the individual. And sometimes it's difficult to get people to those spaces. It is hard work. I always say this, I'm sometimes a walking punch bag, because by the time they come to me, they've been through all sorts of stuff, and they either don't believe in it, or they don't. There's all sorts of things. So we have to be patient and give people that space. So I feel in our community we can build that. We can cater to those that are there ready to go, and then we can also cater to those that are starting up. Right. And I always say to people, remove the comparison. Is your journey, where do you want to go? And if this is where you're going to stop, that's fine. Right. Be there. If you want to go to the next stage, let's go to the next stage. But it's really about, what's your journey? Where do you want to go? Because
a lot of the universities, they spend a lot of money flying people out to go promote their universities in these countries, knowing that they're cash students. They're not, they're no grants, they're no loans. They're coming with actual cash. So China, a lot of parts of Africa, the students who come in are basically keeping the universities afloat, because they're actually paying their fees in cash.
It's a 28.8 billion. That's what that's bringing into. So I think I always say to people is remembering that when you're feeling, that you're
not worth it.
You're not worth it. You have already contributed.
Absolutely.
You've already added value.
Absolutely.
And then is that, how do we power forward? Is your rightful place to gain those opportunities as well. Some people might say, oh, that's a bit entitled, but it's not.
Is it?
It's if you've invested in yourself and obviously contributed, why not go for what it is that you want to go for, right? So it's about creating those opportunities. But when I saw that number, 28.8 billion.
When you put it all together, it's obvious.
But we need the universities to work alongside us in these spaces. We can't keep recruiting.
And they're very
people.
aware. They're very aware. They're very aware of the fact that they need foreign students to come in to keep these universities afloat. So
there needs to be some element of accountability of, that
where are they going
journey of when you get this, you are actually getting not, universities tend to have this 89% or 90% of our students have gone on to get the job in 6 months.
And where's
back to that, where you have to really isolate to who? The international student, what percentage of international, not even just international student, what percentage of ethnically diverse people are actually getting to those spaces. When we really start to break down data and isolate data, then we can see where the holes are. And how then do we take action on that.
The immigrant experience here versus the immigrant experience back home, it's
very different.
It's very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like, you know what I'm trying to say? What I'm trying to say. When you see people who are not, for example, in Nigeria, the non-Nigerians live in the best areas, you know, go to the best restaurants.
Yes, and it's not the same here.
And then you come here and it's like you have to like build it up and struggle.
And I think that's the shock that people get. You know, we've just recently worked with people that have just arrived and they had the shock to the system. I said this was almost a baptism of fire. You know, the shock to the system of this is different. This is not what we were told. This is not what this is not. And then we need to have that standard of expectation as well, and not feel and there's also that narrative that's in the news at the moment. I'm aware that the Home Secretary was talking about the international students. They're bringing their families. They're doing all of these things.
Are they not supposed to?
Why not?
Are they not supposed to?
It's an invitation. You put that in there. They've invested. You know.
Bringing their families.
We need to change those narratives as well. But it's be empowered in where you are and what it is that you want to do, and then access the resources that you need to support you as well. But as a community, let's really continue to come together and, you know, highlight these issues, invest in what you need to invest in to really be able to sit at that table and say, well, this is why we need this, because this is what people are saying, this is the experience. And the research was not just on individuals, we've also
talked to employers as well,
so we can get both sides of the perspectives as well.
I can't wait to hear what the results
I can't wait to hear, because we've not seen the employer side yet. But I can't wait to really dive into it and see
what they're doing and what they're planning as well.
There's a lot of fear from employees. They don't know what to do when it comes to it. But they'll be fine.
They'll be fine.
They'll be okay. If we can do it with the various barriers, you can do it with the investments.
You can even pronounce our names properly. Who knows?
Yes.
So the question of the day: what do you want to see happen? This research you've done, once the recommendations are made and it's revealed and you have all the answers, what would you like to see happen in Scotland in the future?
Oh, lots. Firstly, I would want to have that conversation of, for example, the students, they want to be able to work longer than 20 hours.
Okay.
Right? So things like that. While as students.
It's tricky, isn't it?
It's tricky, but give people that trust that they can manage themselves, because they can't, if they can't even get recourse to public fund, let people have, because people are having to do certain things to build up their resources there. We want to talk about that. Let's get into that.
Okay.
I want to see a coordination of action between education, organisation and policies to really make sure that what we talk about in policies, what's on paper in terms of equalities, you know, opportunities, fair work, etc. The implementation, the action, the incentives, you know, employers are not going to do these things if they don't have the policy in place. So let's get into those spaces. Okay. Work with the community, not for us or against us or after. Like, bring us from the beginning at that decision, from the discussion up until that end thing that you're going to do. You need to work with us, because a lot of the times decisions are made and then we're called in.
You're told.
I find as an I don't know if you find the same as employability, that later, after everything's decided, you're then invited to be plugged into the employability.
What do you think?
And you're just thinking, there's a lot of holes. If we had done the legwork at the beginning, then we would have been all right. At some point.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what you want to see.
I want to see a lot of action and implementation. I feel like this Black History Month theme, that time for change, action, not words.
Yes.
It has to be continued. It's not just for
it's
this
not
month.
Just all year long. I was saying that. I met an MP and she was like, "Oh, Black History Month is coming. I would love to come on your show and talk." I was like, "You're welcome to come to the show anytime. You don't have to wait till October to go." And she was completely blank.
Yeah.
Like, what you thought? She really, she was like, and I was like, I can't believe she's not getting it. It's such a simple thing. No. And she was like, okay.
It's every year. I mean, I wrote an article.
We're Black all year round.
It's every year. But no, I really want to, and part of what I'm going to be doing with the research is I'm going to be touring this. I'm going to be sitting in rooms with ministers, etc. Now that we've got data, they can't say, no, we don't have the data. We've got something to take. For me, sorry to cut you off, I really do think
it really, really lies with the employers. And I know policymakers and us and the government and all, but really, if employers took a stand and said, okay, I would like to, in this company implement this and that, open up our employment processes a little bit, and see what people have. I think that will make a huge difference.
Yeah, but they need, and a lot of them, there's some that are doing really well, and those that are doing well, share yourselves. Again, people like to hide these things, but again, it's that thing of, we don't have the money, we don't have the, so I feel that there's a lot of money that's going into employability that is about working with people, sometimes fixing the people, making them fit. Why not, for government, invest that into employers to do the things of opening up the processes and really looking at... Is there really
that much to do? Can't just say, everybody come, I'm going to employ from whoever applies for this.
Yeah. And the mindset of, we are people.
Yeah.
We are people. When people think about, will they fit into a culture? Culture's flexible.
What is culture?
Culture adapts.
And if you can't do the job, you can't do the job. It's simple. It could be anybody. Just open it up, It's weird. It's a weird thing, making things more difficult than they have to be,
But the conversation has become difficult. So part of this is some of the recommendations that we've had, and the recommendations are coming from the people rather than us as an organisation saying this is what you should do. And you would see people repeating the same things again and again and again and again. So take that chunk of recommendation and it's very easily just exactly what you've said. People just want opportunity. If I've got this qualification, why not just hire me if I have that? Yeah. And if I don't have the experience, create that opportunity for me to have that experience. And develop that.
And people also want to be like the big fish in a small pond as well. We have a bit of that in the community as well. So if you're the only minority in the company, then you're special, and you don't want maybe somebody else coming in and shine. That happens a bit.
It happens, and that happens again because of the culture, isn't it? It's that culture of the diversity hire. We've got that one person shining. They're doing so well. We don't. It's changed that mindset. We do a lot of work with employers on this side of just open up your doors and see that, and it's that value that added.
And they're always so shocked when they see how amazing the hires are.
Yeah,
I've had people like, oh my god, they have 3 guys on the team, 2 Nigerian. They're amazing. They've done this, and I'm like, yes,
because they know what to do.
Well, you know what? I am pro Scotland. I'm not going to hide it. I am very, very pro Scotland, and I do think we're more inclusive here, and I do think we're trying. I do think we just don't know. But that's the bit. Once we do, I think it will be.
But this is, and in terms of our research, again, it's not that anti or Scotland is not. It's actually the potential. So this is where I try to avoid a comparison to England and Scotland, because their journey where they are now is different.
Yes,
completely different. Yes. And where we can get to, we can get there. It's just a matter of empowering not just the people, employers, to go for it. And let's take down some of the languages, all the labels, isn't it? They're looking at anti-racism, diversity, inclusion, people value added.
That's it.
And
inclusiveness of all, from all ranges. Yes,
you're missing on the good food as well. Can you imagine? Okay,
it's over. Don't worry. In another 10, I've seen the difference in 10 years. I'm really, really, confident in another 10 years
it'll get there.
Yes.
Well, we've had good response with this research. We've not had people come across and be like, we've actually had people contacting us and saying, oh my gosh, thank you. How can we get involved? What can we, the IOD already, that is all employers. That is already opening.
I was at the job centre the other day, and I was talking, and she just goes, it's good to see black people in Scotland. And I'm like, okay, thank you. And randomly, we're talking about something. She comes in and goes, you're working here? It's good to see. I say more black people. I'm like, thank you so much.
I had it on the bus today.
I'm like, I've been here for a while. Where are you from? I'm like, I'm from Glasgow. She's like, I'd like to throw people off. I'm from Glasgow. Okay, but still. It was so funny.
I had it on the bus today coming on, and there's a lady, she's just looking at me. She's like, I just love you. I was like, okay, lovely to meet you. get my headphones on. But no, just it's getting there. It's already different. You know, like I said, I've been in 2006, and that was already, you know, and I've been in this journey of doing this for some time now. And this is why this research, I wanted to invest in something that I know is going to get us to the next
actual results.
Yeah. So rather than waiting for people to do it for us, get it started. So it's about removing that excuse of we don't have data. Now we have it.
Absolutely.
Let's get to work.
Absolutely. I can't wait for the 28th. One last thing. You know, when you're a foreigner in Africa, you're given the benefit of the doubt until you prove yourself to be worthy of it. So you're welcomed and all of that until you show that, okay. And then here is the other way around.
Yeah.
You have to prove yourself to be worthy. Yeah. You know, when you first arrive, and then you're given the chances and everything, and it's just it's funny how that works out.
It is, and I think again this is where in the work that I do in anti-racism, it comes back down to the past, the history, colonialism, right? So we're so used to. My partner is white, so when he goes to Africa, it's like I'm treated like a king. Yeah. Why can't we do? Why are we not doing the same here? And we're not doing the same here because that mindset already is there. That there's, you know, that anti-blackness of the past, everything. So it's dismantling all
when I hear
that.
anti-black, I'm like, what? I'm so happy to be black. It's crazy.
I'm like, come. I mean, we're glowing. We glow all the time.
Have you heard about
that history that we need to understand and then how is that
and
still
some people
feeding
don't
into
know
our
about
system?
the history, so they get upset when you say things like that. Yeah. And you're like, just relax.
Let's get into the history. Let's understand. This is, again, if we're going to history months, understanding your past is going to help you with your future. If you don't want to see that, we're going to continue to perpetrate the past.
And don't get upset. Just read
and it's
about
not
it.
You. It's not unless you are the problem.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. It's like
which some people are.
Oh yeah,
but not as obviously as it used to be.
Not in some places. But again, all of this we unpack in our research, and we're also going to be creating educational pieces for employers. So our focus is going to be more on employers and empowering people.
I'm going to ask you about your biggest highlights and challenges, but I really, really want to share this with you and see if you're on the same wavelength as this.
Yes.
You know that there's some Asian companies that hire white people to front them.
Yes.
To give us a sense of respectability to it.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
I just think that's a nightmare.
Do you think that would work the other way around?
What
if they never hire black people to be the face of...
Well, sometimes it happens in say in spaces of either employability or anything, right? Sometimes that happens to bring people along.
Yes, that look really but like we have conferences and all that, and there's a random white person who has nothing to do with the company. He's just hired there to be a white person.
Because again, that comes from that mindset of, you know, everybody wants white is better
trust
than, you know, all that kind of stuff.
It's bizarre.
Yeah,
but does happen.
It's changing. Again, we're seeing it. We know when something is done from a tokenistic space. We know when something is done from a performative space as well. And it does happen. Again, it comes back to the history. Yeah, it does. Go back to history.
I find it really interesting. So, 2 quick questions.
Yes.
Biggest highlight of this entire thing? The project you took on and the results and all of it, the experience. What was the biggest highlight of it all?
The biggest highlight for me is the community researchers.
Okay, wow.
Actually getting the community, I mean, again, Dr. Felma, thank you. But to actually have people be represented and a different spectrum of experience. And then the other highlight is the reception of it. You know, people are actually receiving it and wanting to be a part of it. Right. The different stakeholders, we're getting interest from decision makers as well. So that actually, from something that I thought, people are going to be like,
a bit difficult.
But it's been well received, and I feel hopeful that we can then go into those actions. Right. But the community researchers, fantastic. Yeah, we're there, we're here.
And the biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge is, on the other side, it's we did have some challenges in terms within our own community of us undertaking this research.
Actually doing it.
Of why are you doing it? This should be the government doing it. Who are you? Do you have the certification to do it? And I'm thinking, you know, when other people do these things, we don't have these questions. But yet when we take on something that is actually going to benefit all of us, suddenly people, they pull down. But you know what? That for me means I feel like, okay, we're doing something right. When you get a little bit
pushback, yes,
you're doing something right. But the reception has been
more positive than negative.
And people are coming around. So some of those people with the
because
they're coming around because they want to know as well. So I can't get my back up on that. If and I like that transparency and accountability. If I'm not getting anything, ones,
a lot of minority communities have that thing.
Yeah,
the Jewish community, the Asian community, they all have that thing where they feel like.
And we're a young organization, so there are organizations that have been going for longer, and we do get that. You're the new kids on the block and all that kind of stuff. But that's fine. It's still going to benefit all of us. So. It's okay.
Fantastic, Viana. Yes. I think we've come to the end of it.
Yes.
So I just want one more time tell people where to find you, when it is, and what to expect, and how to reach you.
Yes. So it's at 525 Ferry Road in Edinburgh, EH52FF. I remembered it. Yes. If you go on our LinkedIn, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. And then I can tag you. You can book yourself in Eventbrite. Book your ticket so that we know who's coming, and so that Nani will also know who to cater for as well. And then find us on www.prespect.co.uk or Prespect Hub. If you need support with your employment opportunity, your career progression, contact us as well at Prespect.
Fantastic. This has been amazing having you on the show.
Thank you so much.
Come back anytime.
Do you know what? I'm just going to come and live here.
Now you know where we are.
Now I know.
You're never going to get lost ever again.
I'm literally going to run across ready just to go.
Friend of the show.
Ready. I'm
Friend
ready.
of the show.
No,
are you going to hang back with us and spend the rest of the time with us?
Yeah.
You've been here long enough anyway.
You know what? I'm staying in Glasgow. I'm not leaving.
So we're going to have the rest of the show with Viana on it. I'm so excited. So that has been Viana Maya, award-winning founder of Prespect Limited, Prespect Hub, an L&D training and coaching specialist in career progression, and she has told us all about the project she has undertaken with Jesuit Consultancy and it's a data-based recommendations for, tell us?
For minoritized communities and for racial equality in Scotland.
Right, and then so they're going to reveal the results of the research, and the event is on the 28th of October in about 10 days, I think,
10
in
days
Edinburgh.
Time.
And there's going to be food as well. So
good
join
food.
them.
good
join them. And if you need any help with your career, like she said, just contact them. We're going to put all your details on social media, on our social media and our website and everything, so people can find you where you are. We're going to put all the details there, and we look forward to doing it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
She's going to hang back and she's going to be with us. But for now, here is Zena. What are you playing? Okui Tojumi. You got it? Okui Tojumi by Salmos and Tope Alavi. And we'll come back and we'll have some fun in part 2. See you guys soon.